going to be putting together some short podcasts going forward here. I'm in the process of writing the book about the Higgins method, and I have a lot of notes, audio notes that I take, and interviews with clients and things like that. And I'm going to be including bits and pieces of those here for some short podcasts, just to get some input from people, kind of see what you think of it. Anyway, there'll be a link in this video to get in touch with me if you have any comments or whatever. Anyway, listen and see if you like it. This was a conversation with a client, I think on the second day of our work with the dog. This is where the light bulb came on for the client. The understanding the difference between obedience and what I do, which is based on trust, cooperation. His question was about pressure and how he gets a dog to do certain things, restrain them, and teach them to do something unnatural. And it took a bit, but we got together on it, and he understood it at the end. It's not about pressure. It's not about obedience and repetition. It's about letting them learn, building trust, cooperation, that I can help them be successful. And it comes together as it goes on. All right, we went out yesterday and kind of got a preliminary feel of where your dog is and watched you do some handling to kind of see where the work is. Did you have any questions, first of all, on what we did? We'll kind of go over what we did, but did you have any questions, first of all, as to what we did?
Not questions what we did. The one question I did think about, I guess this is open time for question. The one question I was curious about is that if you could explain to me the difference between why you use the check cord and the collar versus doing the like half hitch, because I've done the half hitch where all of his stopping has been with the pressure on the flank versus on the collar. And if you have any reason why you've found that you like that collar versus...
Well, part of it is because you're trying to do training and I'm not.
Okay.
Because what you're trying to do what obedience trainers do by physically making him stop and holding him there, kind of a thing. Stopping him and making him stay there. I don't do that. Okay. What I do is different. And you'll watch our check cord management. And it's for a different reason. You're using half hitch and trying to make a dog stay someplace when I'm always going to ask him to choose to stay there. Just in little subtle things. It's a good question. When I take your dog out, today you'll see it. And we're going to work some birds. And he's used to getting excited, as we saw. He got excited. When a bird flies, he took off and chased it, which is not uncommon. That's what wool-based or obedience-based dogs will do. You fight that forever, okay? Because he thinks he can do it.
Yeah.
Because you've stopped him from doing it and never let him realize that that doesn't work. So when we do this, there'll be a bird up there, and I'll check cord him up into, as we start the steadiness process, I'll check cord him up there, okay? And if he decides that he wants to try to get the bird, and I feel him bump on that check cord, okay? That was him trying to go, okay? And what I'll do, I'm not going to hold him there. When he does that, he's going to come to the end of that cord, and I'm not going to move, so he's going to kind of correct himself. He's not going to get to go. And then if he's leaning on it or whatever, I'll just do like nag, just a little bit, little gentle nags, and I'll do whatever I got to do, 3, 4, 5, whatever, until finally he relaxes and settles, and then I give him the cord back. So he learns that when he makes that choice of not trying to go, he gets success. What everybody else does is different, the half hitch, the whole bit, because you're trying to make him stop. He doesn't even know why. You're trying to artificially make him stop trying to go, but you're not tying in why. You see what I mean?
Sure.
You'll see more when we do it. When we actually get into it, you'll start to see the subtle differences. That's why we went into your check cord management. I wanted to make sure you understood how to manage a check cord. 12 feet long. When the dog is in a birdie area and he's decelerated, okay, at that point we want just a little bit of slack, not tight. If it's tight, he's not learning anything. You're just holding him back. You might as well be half hitching him.
Sure.
Not tight.
But if you... So
go ahead.
If you half hitch him and you manage it the same way, the premise behind my question was, with management at the forefront, or that being the variable that's being understood, have you found a reason or benefit to use the collar versus the half hitch? Because both are going to stop the dog if managed correctly, right?
What difference do you see? What are you referring to when you talk about the difference between a half hitch and a collar? What are you looking at that's different?
Well, you're using the collar, right, as a pressure where the dog gets to make the correct decision, right? You're encouraging the dog to make the correct decision. You're like with the with managing the check cord and your example of the dog putting pressure on it, giving the nags, and then the dog choosing to relax and giving him that slack back, right? So if you do that same method with the half hitch, the dog is choosing to pull on it, but as soon as he releases back, it releases pressure on the flank versus on the collar. That was where the premise behind my question was, if you had any reason why you liked using this versus on the flank. The reason I asked that is because I was thinking in my head that I wonder if that was, whether or not it's true. I was thinking about this last night I wonder if that when my dog was in the field yesterday, he was not successful in terms of, holding steady, because he's had all of his steady work done back here. Not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just hypothetically thinking his steady work was done back here versus his steady work up here with a collar on his neck. So the premise behind that was just understanding if you've had more success this way versus, the flank side of things. Whether it's right or wrong or different.
Because you're approaching this from an obedience standpoint, and my brain doesn't go there.
Okay.
So that's what this is. It's your issue with this obedience thing. You're trying to come up with some difference between where what you're calling pressure is applied.
Sure.
And I don't understand how that became important to you.
I don't think it's important. I was just curious because I'm seeing where your pressure or the pressure of the dog making the decision is on the neck versus on the flank, what the half hitch does. Makes no difference to me, whichever works. If it works better to do it where the dog, he's got the collar on, then that's fine by me. I don't even care. I was just curious if you had found
let me back this up so you can answer your own question if I understand it right. Describe your scenario with a half hitch. What you're using a half hitch. So basically, is there a bird out there that you're going to work and you've got
Sure.
a half hitch on him? So it's around the clip is on his collar.
Yep.
Goes down, half hitches around his waist,
Yep.
and then you've got the end of it.
Yeah, between his legs. Well, it's coming.
I don't see it if you're in doing that. I don't see a I don't know why does the half hitch have to be there? Why is that even important?
It's not important.
Why is it there?
It's there because that's my way of helping him make the right decision. Because what I've used in the past, and again, I'm not saying this is right.
I understand. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not pressuring you for an answer. I just want to try to understand where you're coming from, because I got to delete all this from your brain, and I want to see the best way to do that.
That's good. I never had access to a pinch collar, which is essentially what.
Okay, the pinch collar is not relevant either, but we'll go into that. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. If it's not relevant, then
it's not.
The premise behind my question is washed out, because I was under the impression that the premise for the collar and the way it's designed was to be able to put pressure on the dog. So when the dog chooses to go, and as soon as he makes the choice not to go, he then comes back, releases that pressure. You're releasing the pressure on the cord. And the dog's realizing now
No, because here's what I see where you're going.
Okay.
You have an obedience-based mind frame, and
Sure.
you're thinking of pressure and punishment. That's what you do. That is the nature and the reason and the definition of obedience. Pressure and punishment. You've used the words. Pressure, meaning you're doing something. I'm going to punish you for doing that because it's not right.
Okay.
This is the core. I'm glad we got there. This is the core of how your brain works when it comes to obedience training. You're thinking of pressure to make him stop making that mistake, right? Because you add pressure and you keep adding more pressure, whatever you need to do, e-collars and whatever, so he'll quit doing that and do it the way you want, even though what you want makes no sense to him.
Okay.
There is no pressure in what I do.
Okay.
The collar is only there so a young puppy doesn't rip my arm off. It has no other reason. I don't need it.
Okay.
All I'm doing in any of my check cord work is slowing a dog down so he can think. No pressure. I'm not punishing him.
Okay.
I'm doing nothing. I'm not even there. All I'm doing is, if I didn't do that, it would take a lot longer, because he'd have to chase a lot of birds to be unsuccessful. It'd take a lot longer. I could do it, but it'd take a lot longer. But if I can show him how it works, and the best way to show him how it works is to show him, so don't let him chase, so he can sit there. Instead of chasing it, he's going to watch what happened. And he can learn quickly, because he's not chasing now. He settles real quick. That's why I just give him the cord back. So you'll see your dog do this. It'll be completely different to you. Mm-hmm. He stands there. There's no tension on the line. Mm-hmm. He's right there watching it happen. We bring the bird back. We do what we're going to do. And after 3 birds, he doesn't bump the cord anymore, because he knows that doesn't work. So all I'm doing is slowing him down so he can witness success. You are approaching it, that's why you came up with the way you said it. You have a half hitch, I have it on his neck, and your question really was, why do I choose to use obedience and put pressure on his neck when you do it on his half hitch? Well, I don't. The whole premise of the question is wrong because I don't do that.
Yeah, maybe my understanding of I truly see what you're saying, and maybe my understanding of it was all wrong. And I think the way you've explained it of slowing the dog's thinking down is actually extremely effective, because I mean ultimately that's what you're doing, is you're helping teach the dog to make the correct decisions in the field
that lead to success.
That lead to success, and so that makes more sense to me in terms of, you know, from the standpoint of trying to stop the dog and make the dog, you know, make the right decisions. It's helping them slow decisions, and that's really helpful to think about.
Yeah, these are the foundational differences in what we do, and it'll start making more sense when we do your dog. You'll see your dog change. All the obedience stuff that your dog has dealt with and all. When we take him in the field today, it all goes away, and he starts with a new foundation, trust, cooperation, and he starts with a whole new program, and he'll give the other stuff up today, and it will be like it never happened. That's the beauty of predators, is they can change their strategy so quickly and come in and do other things. So that's a good conversation about how you were seeing it, and you were trying to make him do something other than what he would choose. Okay? And by using pressure and just basically showing him that you're not going to let him do that. Whereas I want him to learn. You want him to be trained, I want him to learn. There's a difference. Because that training takes obedience, training, repetition, and all that. Going down the wrong road. If you've got to use repetition, you're wrong. I use association, you know, 1 or 2 times, and I'm done. You know, it's easy stuff. Does that make sense? Kind of, and you'll see more as we go forward.
Sure.